Do you remember Blue-Green Flash? It was around when Avacyn was around, and you also had a bunch of the creatures coming in from Ravnica as well. Blue-Green Flash was a deck that was kind of weird and a little annoying, actually. It was a player for a little while, and you can see that this deck might actually exist right now. You have no less than 3 green creatures with Flash in the 3-drop range, plus you have Bounding Crassus, plus you have Rattle Chains in blue, and
the Infiltrator.
Dimensional Infiltrator in blue, and then you have Tempo spells. So you could just play Blue-Green Flash with Counter Magic. And I think that's important. That's interesting because Flash as a deck are one of those things that it doesn't take very much for those decks to be very good. Because when you only play on your opponent's turn, it really doesn't matter what your opponent's doing. So just something to point out. I don't think I'm suggesting there's a good wolf or werewolf deck that you want to play this in because there just isn't. They're all trash. But this card having the exact same mana cost as Wolfear Avenger is interesting.
I have to say, like, you bring up a good point that I just feel like there's a lot of creatures with Flash in the current format right now.
And a ton. There's just a bunch.
I mean, and it is only worsened by a collected company being, what essentially feels like, giving you a lot of your 3-drop or less creatures Flash anyway. So it's like very, very hard to, like, play, and hopefully it'll get blown out by one of the many creatures with Flash that exist in this format.
Yeah, your Blue-Green Flash deck's also playing Club Company. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh yeah, correct. obviously. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's kind of a archetype that doesn't exist right now that could potentially do so.
No. All right, last card for green I want to mention is Splendid Reclamation. Splendid Reclamation is 3 generic and a green for a sorcery. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I have no idea how this card is going to be used, but it has a statement and a sentence on it that sounds like you could break it. So it's one of those cards that you're like, huh? And move on. I don't know what it's going to do right now, but again, this card begs to be broken.
Didn't they have a card like this in Urza Saga? It was like Rebirth or something like that. I think it was just all players put all lands from their graveyards into play. I don't know. Seems like more of like an old format kind of card.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Like maybe there's some crazy thing you can do with it.
Hey,
even if it's just
you do aggressive mining.
If it's just casual, like I'll sack all my lands to Zurian Orb, float some mana, get them all back.
Aggressive mining is one of the coolest things you can do with Harmless Offering as well. I mentioned that, I mean, like, you obviously in Modern, you have, things like, at our Modern Classic on Saturday, there was definitely a person playing, Lotus Bloom. Or no, Lotus Bloom, Summer Bloom.
Yeah.
Obviously that card's been banned, but the Bloom Titan, essentially, there's a Hiveblind deck. But, your key component there, I'm done. I can't say words anymore. They're all gone. What's the artifact that deck functions with?
Amulet of Vigor.
Thank you. Like Amulet Bloom. That's the name of the deck. I can't remember anything. Amulet of Vigor. This card says the call can play it tapped. Amulet of Vigor is like, hold on, everybody. Let's untap those. reverse. So, I don't know. I think it's the kind of card where, like, if my opponent Modern was like, I'm going to return all these to play, and then I'm going to do all this mana, and I was like, I knew that card was going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's a big effect, but it definitely requires some sort of setup. And I just want to see like the lands player do this in Legacy for some reason. Just like have a critical amount of lands and just be like, they're all back now. This is how it is now.
So the card I was thinking of was a Planar Birth from Urza Saga, which put all basic lands from all graveyards into play under their owner's control.
Not the same.
So, yeah, not even close to the same. And I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't had a card, like this before.
Well, now we do.
Now we do. We'll see what happens.
If you have all 4 of your Evolving Wilds into your graveyard, you can bring all those back.
Oh my God.
So much value.
I just want to point out, I hate the flavor text on this card from a story standpoint. No matter how much a planet suffer, there's a way to restore it. No, that's stupid. Because the Eldrazi Titans can't be villains you care about if they're not allowed to permanently destroy anything.
Yeah, tell that's a...
There's literally no emotional weight if they can't do anything.
Yeah, tell that's a Mirrodin, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, literally, you know why that's so compelling? Because Mirrodin died. Like, let's be honest.
It
He
is
became
no
a new
more.
plane. So, like, just pretending like, no, it's okay. We can bring it back. It's like, it should be damaged permanently in some fashion. Like, you can't just be like, nah, it's cool. We got it. Nissa is so
We'll fix
powerful.
this.
We can
She
fix
was like,
it.
she wouldn't talk to the spirit because, again, remember, planes also have souls. I don't know what that means for like places like Mirrodin, because Karn was a robot. So did he make a soul for
You
the
literally
plane?
had soul
He
Newphorexia.
made a soul plane.
You're wrong. You're a wrong
man.
human being. And no one likes you. Let's finish. Okay, that's the last card in green. All right. What do we think of green?
Soul plane. I think Green got some really cool cards, and like some powerful cards, and Green doesn't need to be good anymore.
Yeah, green got the best card in the set. No, I mean that might be a bit of a stretch, but Eldritch Evolution is definitely very good, and it definitely got some other good cards, and it already had a lot of good cards. So what? Yeah, green's great. Just play green.
Green.
Got some potential modern impacting cards.
Yeah.
Maybe more than one.
Maybe more than
Power
one.
Dryad.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into gold cards. Dave, you're up.
All right, so our first gold card is Bloodhall Priest. It's 2 generic black-red for 4/4 Vampire Cleric. It also has Madness of 1 generic black-red. So you can get into play for 3 mana, potentially. It has the ability, whenever Bloodhall Priest enters the battlefield or attacks, if you have no cards in hand, Bloodhall Priest deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So it's a pretty potentially powerful, repeatable effect. However, needing to have no cards in hand is a pretty steep drawback.
I thought that they got got rid of Hellbent. I thought like that was a very well received sort of mechanic for Rakdos, and they but clearly they still really like it.
Discard all the cards.
This card feels strongly like a trap to me, where people are going to look at it and say it's a 4/4 for 4 or for 3, and it has this ability. But I don't know if you've been paying attention, but like 4/4 for 4 is not very good.
Yeah.
They keep printing 4/4s for 4 with upside, not drawbacks, and they're still not good enough. Smiter was good enough as a 4/4 just for 3 in colors that could play it on 2. Like, you have to do a lot of work to make this card good, and it may still not be good enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember Lockstone Smiter? The card was sweet, and you could just pay 3 to just put into play.
Like, and the fact that this card has no evasion, people want to think, oh man, remember Black, Red, and 2 colorless? Remember how that was like this sweet card that was a 4/1 with haste and
Make
flying?
it indestructible.
No, that's not that card at all. It can just be chump blocked forever.
I missed that card.
Yeah, you have to go to no cards in hand to get the trigger, and then like your opponent just knows you're not doing anything. I don't know.
Card's bad.
This card is the reason I think that like this kind of thing right here, where like it's super cute, but vampires aren't good.
I agree.
So,
all right, moving on.
we have Gisa and Geralf. I don't know if it's Gisa or Jissa or Josiah or Jolene.
I mean, it's Lisa.
Jolene.
So Gisa.
Jolene. Oh, is that not? Oh,
The art on this is really weird.
What?
The art?
Yeah.
It just looks like a photograph. It's just a black and white.
So this is we can talk about that in a second. So this is 2 generic and a blue and a black for a 4/4 legendary creature human wizard. So it's weird because like they're sort of set up like P and Kieran Nalar, but they're actually these 2 are brother and sister, just so you know. When enters the battlefield, you may put the top 4 cards of your library in your graveyard. During each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard.
It's not a May, by the way. You have to put the top 4
I'm
cards.
sorry. I think I was putting the May from the bottom into the top. I apologize. So I think the idea is like Jis and Geralf like hated each other, and like Geralf has been like off with Ludwig like making things. But if you notice, according to the art here, like once all these cultists become crazy like this, they realize that they have to stick together as brother and sister because other people are tarnishing their good work. We talked about this card a little bit. I think we did anyways. I'm sorry, we lost time but this card, like again, here's a 4/4 for 4 that has a pretty powerful ability attached to it. However, how powerful that ability is depends on what you're doing. Now, I will say, when we looked at this card the first time, we didn't have Crypt Breaker yet. This card is better with Crypt Breaker as its 1-drop. It really is, because you are putting the cards you want into the graveyard. That being said, I don't know if this is the payoff you want. A 4/4 for 4 still isn't very good, and its ability is not instant. You know what I mean? You don't get to do anything with it that turn. So it's how much it affects the board, I don't know. And it not being a zombie itself 100% works against Crypt Breaker because you can't tap it to draw a card. So, you mentioned, I think we talked about this before, you mentioned having Ghoulish.
Yeah.
As a card that sort of like people were excited about and then didn't do what it wanted to do. I could see a scenario where this card hits the battlefield and your opponent just steamrolls you with advantage. I could also see this being like literally doing nothing. You draw this off the top and you're like, oh, it's not even the biggest creature on the battlefield.
Cool. Can't even block anything.
Can't even do anything. Yeah. So I hope it's good. Its effect is unique. But like, look, if you're looking at a card that's like, 4 mana, puts the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, give me Mindwreck Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, pretty much agree with that.
Even in the zombie deck, give me Mindwreck Demon.
Yeah, like the ability can help you get Delirium, but if you're playing Delirium, you're probably better off just sticking a black-green. Though I suppose it's possible to splash for this if you wanted.
Yeah, if you so chose, but I don't think you need it.
Yeah, I'm not very high on this card. Casual All-Star could be a really awesome commander, I think.
Oh yeah,
and people are gonna love it. But
yeah.
Move over, Grim Grin. There's a new blue-black zombie commander in town.
You gotta say that even sassier if you're gonna be Giza.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm too tired to be sassy.
Jolene. All right,
moving on.
All right. So speaking of Delirium, next card is Grim Flare. So this
Ric
is
Flair. What?
Yeah.
Woo! He's even got white gloves.
Yeah. Grim Flare.
Oh man.
Costs black green. It's a 2/2.
Totally the nature boy. I'm sorry. He's like out in the woods.
No, he's it's Garruk.
I know.
This is like
This is like
teenage Garruk. He's
yeah,
just
this
like
is like
hanging around the forest.
This could be Garruk's love child left on Innistrad.
Yeah,
look at this.
He's got that little axe thing.
Yeah, he's like, hey, do you remember that Garruk character you liked? He was on Innistrad. I don't know where he is right now, but here's a guy that looks like him.
No, this is definitely like a Jon Snow style like bastard as well. It's like somebody tell me who my mother is. And Garrick's like, the next time I'm on Innistrad, we'll talk about your mother.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
I'm proud of myself right now. My mic stand is literally a Dance of Dragons, and I'm all in.
Yeah. Anyway, let's read what this card does.
So, green and black, 2/2 human warrior, has trample. Has whenever Grim Flare deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. Also has Delirium, gets +2/+2 as long as you have 4 more card types. So potential 2-mana 4/4 trample. It's pretty good. Gives you some selection. If you don't have Delirium and you're able to hit, it lets you set up Delirium fairly quickly. So, this is a pretty sweet. It's both an enabler and a payoff for the Delirium deck. So this seems like a home run if you're trying to go that route, trying to build your deck like that. So,
right, if you're playing this card, that's what you're trying to do. And we'll see if it can break through. Sylvan Advocate is still a card in the format, makes it really awkward. It functions very similarly. It scales late game with this guy, and every turn it is bigger than him, which is kind of unfortunate. But I do really like this card, and I do hope that it does see play and is effective. So
also a mythic rare, so
it is mythic, which is important.
Seems like it might be pushed a little bit for.
Yeah, and don't you love it when 2-drops that have a chance to become format staples are mythics? Oh.
Oh no? Oh okay.
That's weird. But.
Yeah. All right, next up.
All right, we're going to talk about Heron's Grace Champion. I'm really excited that Sigarda's still got some humans that are like, nah, we fight for Sigarda. It's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, I mean she's the only sane angel left.
Yeah. Oh man, Gruntilda shows up in her car and she's like, "Get in, we're going shopping." And Cigar's like, "Nah,
I'd rather not.
So Heron's Grace Champion, this 2 generic green and a white for a 3/3 human knight that has flash, shocking, and lifelink. And then it says when it enters the battlefield, other humans you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until on the turn. So another flash creature, but with a pretty relevant trigger on it. And if green-white humans is a thing, this is pretty impressive. And not even just that. I mean, there's so many humans. Like you look at Bant Company humans. Man, this seems like a pretty spicy sideboard card. Where like your opponent's like, well, I'll attack. Flash in your company. It's like, oh, I'm going to flash this in instead and just pump my team and get everything lifelink and win the race by myself. So I think this card has. I don't know if it's ever going to be a main deck card. 3/3s for 4 aren't exactly that exciting, but flash again really messes with stuff. So I think this card has a chance to see some play, and you should expect it out of sideboards in the very least.
Yeah, I can see it. It's also the top 8 promo for game day.
It is a nice foil.
Combos well with Lone Rider.
That's fair. You just flash in, block, and then flip your Lone Rider. But then your 4-drop to make your I don't know, whatever.
Apparently, Lone Rider always needs a 4-drop to help out.
Lone Rider can't be alone then to flip. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, apparently not.
Huh.
Weird.
All right, you're up with some Morning Willows there, bud.
Morning Willows. Man, you just have to throw this one in there so I didn't get the next card.
You get Tameo then.
Okay, fine. All right, Morning Willow. It's a plant skeleton. Say no more. Colorless black green 3/2 haste. Has delirium. So if you have delirium, when it enters the battlefield, creatures with power 2 or less can't block this turn. So it's kind of an aggressive delirium card.
Why is this red card in?
Yeah, so this reminds me of
black green.
What was the 3/3 haste guy from
Return to Ravnica.
Yeah.
Drugmangler.
Yeah. They like black green has always been kind of this grindy, graveyard based, resources and all this stuff. Once in a while they're just throwing some random black green haste guy. You're like, yeah, Drugmangler, yeah, 3/3 haste for 3, yeah, sure, you get that.
Yeah, so this is where I think this card really tells you where they're trying to put black green delirium. You could have the big grindy version where you're going to play your Ishkanaz and stuff. Or you can play the aggro version with your Ghoul Trees and... Not Ghoul Tree, that's not the right one.
Ghoul Tree.
That guy was a 10/10. He was sweet. But, you have your 1-drop and you have, your Flayer here, and you've got this guy with haste with this interesting trigger that, small creatures can't block. And... I don't understand why there's red creatures here either, but it is.
Those are both red effects. I don't get it. What...
Not to mention it's a really fast plant. That doesn't even make any sense to me.
A really fast skeleton plant. he's all bones and roots. I
like how the plant didn't know where to put a head, so it put 2 of them on there. It's
maybe here,
going at the chest or on top. You know what? We'll put one on the arm area and the chest area.
We'll split the difference.
There's probably one in the back too.
Anyway, this is genuinely frustrating. The card's cool. But it's a red card. Yeah. Those are both red effects. It's literally Falter and Haste.
Don't worry. We're going to talk about the color pie here in a second. So we're going to have a long talk about the color pie.
Anyway, this card's good, but I'm upset by it. We're moving on.
I agree. I do want to mention the Ride Down got reprinted.
Yeah. Congratulations. You can ride down some more dudes.
All right. So I'm going to talk about my favorite card in the set. I might be Dave's too from getting here. Spell Queller. This is a generic, a white and a blue for a creature spirit with flash. You guessed it, folks. If you figured out the flash was today's word of the day, ding ding ding.
It's the magic word.
So flash flying. It's a 2/3 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, exile target spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So notice that this word is worded like the old Oblivion Ring, not the new fixed version.
No.
And that's what I was talking about. You can unsubstantiate this or essence flux it. This card's really awesome.
Do you want to just elaborate on that real quick?
So the way the trigger stack, so it enters the battlefield. and it says you can exile a spell. You put that trigger on the stack, and then you flicker it, right? Which has its clause so you flicker it and it comes back in, and it has the leave clause. So like it exiles a spell, and then I'm not wording this correctly. I
don't think the flicker would work in this case, but like say like if you they cast
you're right.
because
I'm using flicker doesn't work. My apologies.
Yeah.
So like if you unsubstantiate it in response, then the second trigger activates where they get to cast it, but there's no spell to cast yet. Then the card goes back to your hand. Then the exile trigger, the initial one, goes on there, and the spell ends up exiled forever. It doesn't work with Essence Flux. What's sweet with Essence Flux, though, is you can still flicker it in response to a removal spell and then keep their spell in exile. It's like, oh, I'll go to cast this collecting company. Oh, no, it's coming back. It's still exiling it, but that was cool that you tried. Yeah, I think this card's really sweet. It exiles Collect a Company being a huge one, but also like Languish and a lot of the removal spells. Plus, its body being a 2/3, it's one of the more relevant spirits, and it interacts really, really nicely with the other spirits. We already talked about the Selfless Spirit. You can sack it and make this indestructible if they try to kill it. Rattle Chains to give it hexproof if they try to get rid of it. This, I think, is the card. We've seen a lot of cool spirits. This is the glue that's going to hold that deck together because of how powerful this effect is. I'm excited about this card. I think this card has modern implications.
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen a card quite like this one with in a Blue-green ring that can target spells.
You ain't never seen a card. Never seen a card.
This is my pick for the actual best card in the set.
Yeah, see, there you go.
It's just, this is going to be a very frustrating card to play against.
You're doing the Avacyn check. Well, now it's only 3 mana, and now you don't know if your spell's going to resolve or not.
Yeah, you don't know if your spell's going to resolve. It's like a Mystic Snake on steroids. Like it's just like a 3 mana Mystic Snake that flies. It has an extra toughness.
Can we play this with the one from Battle as well? Is it the Ulamog's the 2/3 flash
Nullifier?
Oh, yeah.
Nullifier.
Sure, you
so
could,
we can like exile 2 spells to 2 spell Quellers, and then play the Nullifier to eat the 2 spells.
Yeah,
Man, gosh.
this is something that you might they might cast Collect a Company in response to your spell, then hit this. I mean, it's going to be countering Collected Companies, and not to mention if you counter something like a counter spell with this, it's great because then if it leaves the battlefield, they're not really probably going to be able to use their spell very profitably. So yeah, this card is going to be crazy. It's going to be everywhere standard. And like you said, yeah, I think you could see modern play.
There was an article today. I think is her name Jennifer Long. She's a new writer for Star City.
Yeah, she's Mrs. Mulligan on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. She had a bunch of modern lists with it, and I'll tell you what, Drog Skull Captain and this card, best friends. And what's really cool? If you really want to, you can hit those off Collect the Company.
Oh.
Bant Collect the Company spirits in modern. You heard it here first, folks. Well, you read her article, so you heard it there first.
Second.
But you may not have read that article, in which case you did actually hear it here first. But I should give credit to her.
You literally heard it here.
Yeah, there you go. You didn't hear her say anything, unless you watched the stream. But I don't know. Moving on.
All right.
Dave, you get Tameo.
All right.
I might just leave for this part. I'm going to get angry again.
Mike's really upset.
I'm going to get angry again.
So this is our last gold card. Is it our last gold card? It's our last gold card.
I mean,
no.
That's how your credit is.
We're not going to talk about that other card, right? Ulrich von Liechtenstein. We're not talking about that guy, right?
If you want to read about Ulrich, you can. He's bad.
He's not good.
Yeah. We're not going to.
Sorry, everyone who waited for a legendary werewolf.
Yeah. All right. So Tameo, Field Researcher. This is our second Planeswalker. It's cost generic green, white, blue for 4 loyalty Planeswalker. So the +1 on Tameo says, choose up to 2 target creatures until your next turn. Whenever either of those creatures deals combat damage, you draw a card. It has -2 of tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. And it has a -7, which -7, draw 3 cards. Then you get an emblem with, you may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana cost. So you just get a Omniscience. You get an Ancestral plus Omniscience emblem.
Jeez.
Seems good. like, I don't know why they felt the need to give Bant another card that's just absurd. But
It wasn't good enough.
here we are.
It wasn't good enough, Dave.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's only like the best, 3 colors in standard. Let's just
by a wide margin.
make sure of that.
Yeah. Let's just solidify
Well,
that.
I mean, at least it fights over a slot with Collected Company, right?
Oh yeah.
Kind of, yeah, I guess so. So let's break this down. So the +1. So obviously, you can choose 2 creatures that you have in play, and then be able to attack and draw cards, regardless of if they get blocked or not. This doesn't have to hit a player. It's just if they deal combat damage. So they just have to deal damage.
Yeah, and more importantly, you can hit your opponent's creatures,
Right.
which is the key part in that.
Right. So even if you don't have any creatures in play, you can hit like your 2. Maybe your opponent has 2 creatures in play, and then if they try to attack Tamiyo, okay, that's fine. I'll draw 2 cards. Yeah, maybe Tamiyo's dead, but I drew 2 cards. Not the worst thing to ever happen. Also, if you have 1 creature in play and they have 1 creature in play, you can target your guy and their guy, and then you can attack. And it's like, oh, do you want to block?
Do you want?
If you don't block, okay, I still draw 1. And then do you want to attack me back or attack Tamiyo? Because I'm drawing a card if you do that.
And now imagine the creatures that you're talking about are Sylvan Advocates.
Yeah,
And they had Vigilance. And you attacked
Yeah.
into Sylvan Advocates.
yeah.
And you're like, okay, we just want to take the damage, let me draw a card, or you want to block? Oh, you want to try to
Oh,
attack
you want to
Tamiyo?
block? All right, I take 2. I draw 2 cards.
Yeah, you want to attack Tamiyo? Oh, that's cool. I'm going to block the Sylvan Advocates.
It lasts till your next turn. So yeah,
It's
it's pretty good. So I mean, this being able to like go up to 5 on the turn it comes into play. I mean, that -7 isn't that far away. That's fairly easy to get to. The -2 lets you clear the way for your attackers.
or just prevent attackers from, hitting Tamiyo.
Right.
It works pretty well on a board where you don't have a presence. So
Right.
it's crazy that both their abilities work on a board that you don't have a presence and nets you something.
Right.
Seems fine.
Yeah, this card is. I mean, really, the only thing holding it back is the prohibitive mana cost. But I mean, right now,
Prohibitive.
well, yeah,
No, I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, exactly. In air quotes, prohibitive. Even though that the mana is what it is in standard right now, we still see Bant dominating the format for the most part. So I mean, this
You might have a hard time casting this on turn 4 sometimes. That's a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're that upset if you can't cast it on 4.
right. I don't know. Right now, I don't know that the Bant decks would play like 4 of this, but they will certainly make room to play at least a few of these. I think.
Yeah, I mean, there are like some Bant Humans decks that play like a couple of Oceanize commands, and I think like you just shift that out. Maybe play like 2 of these instead, or cut 1 and 1. I mean, it's not like a 4 of it's powerful, but Bant as it stands, you just can't play a bunch of non-hits with Collected Company. Now, I think it's also important to note that you could definitely just splash this in something like green-white, tokens, and obviously makes your mana a little bit worse. But in that deck, you're already playing something called Oath of Nissa, and you're already splashing a card you can't actually cast in that deck. So
pull the Wrath Levy. Just
yeah,
don't play any blue sources.
So like, who are we kidding? Like, in all honesty. I think this card is definitely super powerful. Again, the only thing holding it back is mana cost, and I don't think it's holding it back that much. Again, it's Planeswalker. Oath of Nissa exists in the format. I think this is the best card in the set. Maybe tied with Spell Queller.
All right, can I complain about this for just a little bit? I don't want to waste.
Yeah, go ahead.
This card is the dumbest color pie break I've seen in a very long time, and I swear it doesn't make any sense because Rosewater wants to tell us that the color pie matters. They broke it with colorless cards with the Eldrazi, who had spell effects even though they weren't those colors. We have effects in this set that are Eldrazi that have emerged. We're about to talk about that you can pay them for colorless, and they have effects that are spell colors even though they don't pay any color for them. Great. So we broke the color pie that way. Now we're going the other direction and making a Planeswalker who has no business being white or green. Not only from a flavor standpoint, because she quite literally tells Jace she's not going to interfere because it's not her place. She doesn't care if people die. She doesn't want to interfere. Where's the justice? There's no white there. She's blue. She's a researcher. She's literally starting the story by doing experiments on werewolves because she wants to know how they work. Yeah, a lot of compassion for nature there. Great. Now let's look at the abilities. Now you could argue the +1 is Warrior's Lesson, but that only works in green on attacking creatures, and it's not an effect they commonly get.
It's also that the enchantment.
Yeah, again, on attacking creatures.
Yeah.
You're attacking creatures.
Curiosity.
Okay? And curiosity, absolutely. Keen sense. The
Keen
color
sense.
shifted one where they forced it to be green. Yeah. So, great. And it's certainly not a white ability. Now, you could argue the white gets to tap things sometimes, but they don't get the frost breath things. Again, not a white ability. All of these abilities are blue. This should cost 1 blue, blue, blue. And the fact that it doesn't makes me vehemently angry. And his argument on Twitter was, we either could print it with these colors or not print it at all. Great. Don't print the card then. That's a stupid reason to do something. You can't go color by color by color by. Oh, Hornet Sting shouldn't exist. I hate that card exists. Here's a mono blue green card. Here you go. It's all yours. I hate this card. I hate it.
That being said, you're probably going to lose to it a lot.
Oh, I mean, I'll play the card if I have to. I hate it from the sense, like, the card is very powerful and you'll probably end up casting it. But from, like, the standpoint of, like, it needed to get printed, like, not only does it power up a combination that didn't need it, like, mono blue would be much cooler if it had an effect like this and you could build around this, but instead it's Bant. And it's just a stupid reason. Make a Bant Planeswalker then. Don't play this stupid game. Sorry. Moving on.
And
that was a good segment.
Yeah, and that was Grinding Tears with
hour 9 of the Palooza, Mike's grinding tears.
Yeah, we got people fired up.
Next segment, I'm going to juggle.
You get you fired up for these colorless cards.
Nah.
Oh, trust me, already fired up.
All right, so gold is a sort of a mixed bag for sure, but gold always has like a lot of powerful, impactful stuff because they can push it a little bit. So obviously, we see that with Damio. And Spellqueller, most certainly. So those are sort of two of the standouts, I would say, from the gold breakdown. Let's move right into colorless and lands and finish out this set. So first up, we have our lovely colorless emerge creatures that have nifty little clauses when they enter the battlefield and such. So who wants to start?
I can start this one, because you got to do Tamio, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to start here with Decimator of Provinces, a green colorless creature. It costs 10 generic for a 7/7 that says when you cast it, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample in the turn. It has trample and haste. It also has Emerge for 6 generic green, green, green. And as we've said before, Emerge means you sacrifice a creature when you cast a spell. And you have to pay the difference between the Emerge cost and the creature's CMC. So if you sacrificed a 6-drop, then you only had to pay green, green, green to cast your Decimator. This is obviously a new version of Craterhoof Behemoth, and honestly, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I was just going to throw in there, and it's important to note, because I didn't realize this at first, that the creature that you sacrifice, it only reduces the colorless.
Correct.
Yes. So you can't sacrifice, like, a Sylvan Advocate and reduce it by a green and a colorless. So, all right, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't read it that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, the way I first read it was like, oh yeah, I could sack like a triple green guy and it only costs whatever.
I guess that makes sense. We again, Craterhoof Behemoth did a lot of work when it was in Standard. It's still doing work in other formats. We had decks like Elf Ball that got really popular at the end of that format that were just about swarming the battlefield and then paying a lot of mana to cast this. In this format, we have a card called Cryptolithrite, which will allow people to get this card out there quick. We've already seen a number of those decks that splash for cards like Dragonlord Atarka. They're okay with casting a 7-drop. And with Emerge, if you can cast this off some Scions and stuff, you can build a board state, especially in mirrors. Like if the Cryptolithrite mirror ever got like to the point where it's crazy, this is the kind of card this would be the card that you're tapping all your mana for Duskwatch Recruiter to look for to break it. So I expect this card. I don't know. We already have an archetype slotted for it. Maybe another archetype pops up. But Cryptolithrite and this card do seem to be best friends.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. So don't have too much to add. It is a cast trigger, so
Yeah, even if you counter it.
Yeah,
it
you
happens.
can't do like Eldrazi evolution into this.
That is true.
I mean, you still get a 7/7 trample haste, but it doesn't pump your team. So important to note that. All right, so the next one we're going to look at, it's another emerge card. That's Distended Mindbender. Cost 8 generic for an Eldrazi insect. It's a 5/5. It has an emerge cost of 5 generic black. When you cast Distended Mindbender, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose from it a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less, and a card with converted mana cost 4 or greater. That player discards those cards. So you get an Inquisition of Kozilek and a Brain Feast on
Appetite for Brains.
Appetite for Brains. Yeah, that's honestly that's pretty powerful. I mean, getting to get them to discard 2 cards, hopefully. Anyway.
Yeah. And 2 cards of theoretically you're choosing.
Yeah. In the fact that the emerge cost on this is 7, so I mean we talked about it earlier with Matter Reshaper. I mean you can cast Matter Reshaper on turn 3. Turn 4 you can get this thing out there by sacrificing the Matter Reshaper.
It seems pretty alright.
And that's you're putting yourself in a really good position if you do that. 5/5 is pretty relevant right now. It doesn't die to Languish or Grasp.
Yep.
So I do expect this card to see some play, and we've seen some writers have started
Experimenting with it.
Experimenting really with all the emerge ones, but this is kind of I would say one of the top 3 that we've seen in this set. So yeah, definitely expect us to see some standard play.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
All right.
Next one I'm really excited about is Elder Deep Fiend. This is 8 generic for a 5/6 Eldractopus, if you will. Dr. Eldractopus.
Dr.
It has flash, and it says when you cast Elder Deep Fiend, tap up to 4 target permanents. We talked about this one a little bit. It also has a merge for 5 generic blue.
He has a finger puppet.
Yeah, he's the one with the finger puppet. Yeah, and then the cool moon. So we won't talk about him too much. I think he's still probably the best emerge card in this set, at least for what I want to do with it.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think this card is awesome and will honestly definitely see standard play. I mean, the flash and it's just that effect. It's a perfect storm of all the things that you want to be doing. And again, this is one of the ones that has 7 as its emerge cost, and we keep bringing up Matter Reshaper, but could you imagine so you sacrifice your Drowner of Hope, and cast this guy for blue, gosh, that's got to be sick. And then you just untap, so you sacrifice your Drowner of Hope after you've already expelled your Eldrazi, right? Yeah, you don't have any more signs to sacrifice it. Right. You tap down all a bunch of their stuff, and then you just cast another Drowner of Hope or something. Just there's so many gross things that you could just do. This effect is so powerful, especially at instant speed.
Yeah, I mean with this thing having flash is just insane because you could just respond to a removal spell. I'll go to
exactly.
Kill your guy, and okay, in response I'll just sacrifice to play this thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of also triggering Kozilek's return mid combat.
Yeah. I was going to say that. I mean, we've gone through a lot of these, and they all 3 that we've talked about all trigger Kozilek's return when it's in the graveyard. So that's another thing that can happen. What do you think about this? Do you think this is something that the blue-red Eldrazi deck would want to play?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
This is a resounding yes from Mike's side.
Yes.
All right.
Let's move on here. Another Eldrazi. You know her. You love her.
We already talked about her. So it's Emrakul.
Steve's wife.
Steve's wife.
So she's next on the list. After seeing everything that the set has to offer, how do we feel about Emrakul?
Still good.
Yeah, I think Emrakul's still going to be very good in this format.
Still quite promising.
Promise to end games. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's regardless of the fact that maybe there's a chance your opponent will draw their 1 outer after they take their next turn. It's a good chance they're just dead.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It's definitely one of the premier cards of the set. Deserves to be mythic, and we'll see play. People want to cast this card, and they'll do it, and they'll do it probably pretty cheap sometimes.
Doing it well. Is that not?
I mean,
is that song still hip?
I think so.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting that unfortunately, Emrakul is being outclassed by some much lower casting costed cards in the set. You know what I mean? I feel like you could look back at Battle for Zendikar and be like, yeah, there's some powerful cards here, but Ulamog's a man. You know what I mean? He's a big guy, right? But Emrakul here, it's like, man, Emrakul's really powerful, and she may still not be the most powerful card in this set. She has Mindslaver attached to her. Nah.
It still might not be good enough.
But it's all right. She's still very good. We want to talk about Eternal Scourge next. Okay. Eternal Scourge costs 3 generic for a 3/3 Eldrazi Horror. And it seems to be hiding under some stairs at someone's house, and I don't like that. But you may cast Eternal Scourge from exile, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, exile it. So this is like a weird pseudo-Norn the Wary, but can actually attack and do things fruitfully. I kind of like this card. 3 mana for a 3/3 is not super exciting, but the fact that it can keep coming back, your opponent has to use mass removal, essentially, to get rid of it permanently. Makes it pretty good. I've played with cards. I never got to cast it in standard, but I played with cards in cube. What's the one that when it dies you suspend it?
Hypocrisy.
I played that card enough to know that cards like that can be annoying and also just game winning. They just keep coming back. So I don't know if there's a card a deck in standard that really wants this card, but against certain decks that aren't going to finish you off quickly enough and are just playing a lot of think about the Seasons Past decks, you know what I mean? They spend a lot of the game just one for oneing your guys to the end. Well, what if half your guys would come back every time they 1-for-1 them? It's going to get tricky for them. So I think this card is powerful, let alone the possible legacy combo options with Food Chain.
Oh yeah.
Man, they can't even spell color this thing. You're just like, exile this? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I'll
just come right through. No, I mean, it's obviously bad against repeatable, activated abilities on creatures, but we don't really have anything like that in standard right now. I can't think of anything, any kind of pinger or anything that sees play.
I mean, there's a tapper that exists in this set.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. No.
I guess they could anoint Turf Champions it every time it tries to attack.
You're like, yes, you're my where'd you go?
Oh no.
No, it's too bad. I was going to make it stronger.
But yeah, that's a pretty cool card, and I do like it. I hope it sees play. We'll see.
Agreed.
All right.
Okay.
We're making it to actual artifacts.
We got some artifacts in here.
Moving on. Where are the artifacts?
They're under the double face cards.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I got it. It's sad.
I'm scrolling like a madman over here. Sorry. So, I don't know how to pronounce this. Oh, jeez. Is it Lupine or Lupine?
Lupine.
Lupine. Okay. Lupine Prototype. It's a 2 generic for a 5/5 artifact creature, wolf construct. Everybody's favorite creature type.
Yeah.
Can't attack or block unless a player has no cards in hand. So it's another kind of what did we say earlier?
Like a Mirror Superion, kind of like one of these creatures that comes in with a wonky thing that can do a huge power, low casting cost, but you have to jump through some kind of hoop. That's probably not a good enough card because of it.
Yeah, people have been talking about this potentially in Modern Affinity. It's because that deck can dump its hand pretty quickly, and it's only 2 mana and 5/5 is pretty big, but I don't know that it's really what it wants to be doing.
And then you have those hands where you drew a bunch of lands and you can't play them all each turn, so then your 5/5 can't do anything. Yeah,
either that or you draw a couple cards with colored mana requirements and you don't have any color,
right?
And you're just like, I just have this thought cast in my hand.
It's cool when it works, but again, the payoff to a deck where you discard your whole hand, just like with the other card, is that if your opponent can deal with your powerful threats, you don't have anything else to do. And I just don't like playing Magic that way.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy playing this character a lot on the Super Nintendo when I played Killer Instinct. But
see, I was going more RoboCop. I was going to call this guy Fido 209.
What was the name? There is like a wolf fighter in Killer Instinct.
Yeah, you can look it up, but I forget what it's called.
I'll look it up.
Anyway, this is a wolf in a mech suit, and
Saberwolf. This is Saberwolf.
Yeah, this is a wolf in a mech suit, and that's just not Magic to me, in all honesty. So, I mean, whatever you want to do with that, it's fine, but you just can't put a wolf in a mech suit and expect me to accept that.
Yeah, this is insane. Sorry, I was looking up pictures of Saberwolf. I'm going to look here. I'm going to talk about the next card, though. I'm going to talk about an interesting piece of equipment that we have, and I don't know what to do with it, but it's called Stitcher's Graft. One generic for an artifact equipment. When our equipped creature gets +3/+3, the equip cost of 2. So we're already looking like we're already cooking here. This is good. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Whenever Stitcher's Graft becomes unattached from a permanent, sacrifice that permanent. So
pretty steep drawbacks there.
Yeah, it harkens back to a couple other pieces of equipment, we've had, that graft themselves onto people, and then they die if it gets removed. Shocking, but very flavorful. This one's interesting, though, because if you can find a way to untap the creature, right, that's pretty awesome. The interesting is when it attacks, it gets tapped. So Vigilance doesn't get around it, right? No, it does. I'm sorry. I read that incorrectly. It does get around it.
Yeah. So just throw that bad boy on a Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah. How about always watching?
Or that.
So I think there's some interesting to do, and +3/+3 is huge, especially again in what most of Standard has turned into, which is creature combat. It's a lot of power. So I think this card, there's definitely some decks that would be interested in looking at this card, and it definitely makes certain cards that have vigilance on them or that grant vigilance look a little bit better. So it's interesting, in the very least.
All right, and that's it for artifacts.
Woo!
All right, we're almost done, guys.
Almost. There's a flip one at the end.
Do you want to hit that one now, then?
All right, go for it.
All right. Cryptolith Fragment. I'm trying to find it here.
It's right at the end. It's right at the end of the morph cards.
Here we go. Okay, Cryptolith Fragment. It's a 3-cost artifact. Enters the battlefield tap. It has tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Each player loses 1 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if each player has 10 or less life, transform Cryptolith Fragment. It transforms into Aurora of Emrakul, which is a creature. It's an Eldrazi Reflection. It's a 1/4 flying death touch. And it reads, whenever Aurora of Emrakul attacks, each opponent loses 3 life. So, I mean, they have to be under 10 life, or 10 or less, right?
10 or less.
Yeah, so they have to have 10 or less life in order to even flip this in the first place, and you're essentially attacking for 4 each time you attack with it because they're losing 3 life and you're hitting them for 1. So, I mean, I don't really know what kind of deck this goes in. Does it go into ramp? Does it go into an aggressive deck? I don't know. It's kind of a confusing card.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I kind of like this card, though. And that flip side is so powerful. Like, if your opponent's at less than 10 life already, then Aurora Emrakul is just a couple sweet swings away. But if not, it's also a 1/4 death touch. So, I don't know. I really like this card. I have no idea what you do with it. I don't know. But mana rocks are good. Mana rocks that kill your opponent sound great. Mana rocks that kill you, less good. So
we're going towards bad.
I feel like there's a big chalkboard with a bunch of math on it, and I'm just not Russell Crowe. I don't know if I can actually beautiful mind it. But is that joke not funny?
Oh, what, a beautiful mind joke?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
You guys just both looked the other way when I started making it. I was like,
it's been a long night, man.
Jeez.
I'm sorry, everybody. I let everyone down.
This card, it feels like if you're playing this in some kind of ramp deck, ramp decks want to buy time. You want to be able to cast your big spells. Where this is just cutting down the time that you have.
Yeah,
it's dealing you damage. So it seems counterintuitive in a deck like that. But aggro decks don't really want a 3-cost mana rock in their deck that comes into play tapped. So I don't know. I just don't know where it fits.
Some sort of weird mid-range deck?
Yeah, it's definitely cool and there's a good payoff for it. But it's I don't know. I just don't know where it goes.
I don't know. Smallpox.
All right. 2 lands.
All right.
Easy peasy.
2 lands enter. Oh wait, that's not. All right, I guess I'm going to start here then with Gyre Reach Sanitarium. Dun dun dun, leave me be. No,
It's
okay.
getting late.
I mean, that's the only sanitarium joke you can make, really. Let's be honest. So this card is actually awesome. So this is a legendary land, as we mentioned all the way back in the beginning, when Thalia's Lancers can find this
If you're
card.
paying attention.
This adds a colorless mana to your mana pool, or for 2 mana, 2 generic, you can tap it, and each player draws a card, then discards a card. So this is like your, we talked about this a little bit before, your sort of crazy looting Mikakoro. I love the flavor text too. All are welcome. All are welcome at the sanitarium. I think this card is really sweet. Like, this is an awesome effect on a land. There's once again, another colorless land with no drawback to just having 1 in your deck. 2, then you're talking about legendary rules. But I'm really excited to get to play this card in a number of decks.
I mean, at least you can discard it if you draw 2.
That's true. I mean, it's true. And the nice thing is that you get to decide when to use it. You know what I mean? So your decision is most of the time going to be better than... Yeah, there's going to be times where you give your opponent gas. But there's also a lot of times where you're going to make them make a really tough decision when you know what you're doing, which is powerful. So I don't really see a downside to this card. I don't think it replaces Mikakoro and decks that want Mikakoro. But...
Well, the fact that you're even comparing it to Mikakoro should tell you
it's very powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah. The fact that it comes into play untapped, like you said, there's really no drawback. Like if you're playing an Eldrazi deck that wants to colorless mana anyway, there's really no drawback to this. And maybe you get to a point where your opponent doesn't have any cards in their hand, but you do, and you get to loot, and they just have to discard the card that they draw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or maybe you have madness cards in your deck that you can now activate. So yeah, I mean, this is a super sweet card. Like we said, we haven't had a legendary land in a long time, so it's kind of sweet to get one in the same set as Thalia's Lancers that you can tutor up. And I think a lot of different decks are going to want to play this. So I like it.
Yep. Vote of confidence. All right, Dave, take us to this last one.
All right, last card, Nephalia Academy. It's a land. Taps to add colorless. It also has, if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, you may reveal that card and put it on top of your library instead of putting it anywhere else. So is that like a Library of Lang? Isn't that what that card did?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Nice. Yeah, so... I don't know. This one seems like less of utility than the Sanitarium, where it's it almost feels like a sideboard card, but you're not going to really want to put it in your sideboard. The decks that are already playing all these colorless lands, this is a card that you can just play with no punishment. If you're not searching for a waste, then why? If you don't have a reason to have a waste in your deck, but you want a colorless source, then this you can just put this in there, and there's it randomly will be game changing. You know what I mean? If your opponent tries to Whispers of Emrakul you know what I mean? You could say, "Ooh, I actually really needed this card. I'm not quite ready to discard it." Now it's not exciting. You still are down a card. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose a draw step because of it, but I think that effect is really powerful. And honestly, it's kind of interesting because if you show that to your opponent game 1, does it mess with their sideboarding? You know what I mean? Do you bring in all these duress effects if you know they actually just might be countered by their land? Yeah, I think this one is kind of more down. I feel like the Sanitarium is you're gonna play this every time.
Yeah,
you're gonna play this. This one is more there are a lot of different colorless lands that you can play in Standard that have utility, and you got to choose which ones you want. This one I feel is in the mix.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it'll end up being powerful enough. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how many discard spells are played.
It's cool to see a full spells effect just tacked onto a land.
Yeah, just for 0. Yeah, so. There used to be a card that was an enchantment that did this. So.
Yeah, and an artifact as well, we said.
Library Lane. So, all right.
Awesome. That is Eldritch Moon. Overall, and one-word impressions of the set. How about that?
Creepy.
Frustrating.
I was gonna go with grotesque. I think it's a good one.
That's better.
Grotesque.
That's more what I was going for, but I'm too tired now. I can't.
Fair enough.
Can't think of words.
All right. Well, that's it for the set review. I'll keep the ending short and sweet. Follow us on Twitter at SimpleYourEndStep. Email us at yourendstep@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. Do a search for At Your Endstep. And while you're on Facebook, search for Comic-Con Gaming Center and check out the pre-release events that are going to be happening this weekend. But that's going to be everything for this week, guys. We'll catch you next time, and you have a great one. Bye.